episode, I talk horror with my friend and fellow horseman of the podcast Apocalypse, Jeff Caxide. Jeff is a co-host of the Necromaniacs Podcast and was also in the bands Isis and Palms. I had a killer time talking with Jeff, and I hope you enjoy this episode. After you're done with this episode, make sure you check out my fellow horseman of the podcast Apocalypse, Everything Went Black podcast, Into the Necrosphere, the Necromaniacs Podcast, Iblis Manifestations, and the Soul Knocks Podcast. And once again, thanks so much. If you dig what you hear, please leave a rating on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts at, and I would really appreciate that. Thanks, and take care. All right, Jeff. Thanks for being on the podcast, man. This is awesome, and been waiting for this, but I had a few things come up on my end, and I'm just glad we can finally talk. So this is cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, man. This has been a long time coming. I'm a fan of your show, and happy you asked me to be a part of it. I think I'm the last necromaniac to be on your show.
Yeah, I believe you are. So I think the circle was finally complete.
Right on. Yeah, I was just listening to your episode with Mike and was it Ralph?
Yeah, Mike and Ralph. Yep.
Yeah, about the 6 scariest horror movie moments of all time. It was cool. It really kind of made me think about my own scariest horror movie moments. And interestingly enough, I think about maybe 90 to 99% was all stuff from when I was a little kid.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that's what we were talking about too. Like, that's the stuff that really fucking, fuck with me. Because I guess when you're younger, you still believe in things that, are far-fetched, and like the supernatural is like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, get older, like, oh man, that's not real. Oh wait, that's not real. But your young brain is like, eager to, see all these like supernatural weird things,
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting too how much it really stays with you as an adult. Like my number one scariest thing of all time, well, 1 and 2, the Jordy Verrill segment from Creepshow, and The Raft from Creepshow 2, and the actual story, The Raft by Stephen King. That might be something that's terrified me, like, since I've seen it till now. Like, I still have a hard time watching The Raft.
Yeah, dude, The Raft, like I said, from Creepshow, The Raft, and the like short story, The Raft or whatever, man, both are terrifying, especially for somebody like me who grew up in the water pretty much, fishing with my dad and stuff, being in a boat. This, knowing you're in the middle of the water there, and every little like crevice or whatever, this like blob can come through and fucking suck you down. You know what I mean? And this like tear off your skin and like dissolve you and stuff. It's horrifying.
Oh yeah, and I saw the film before I read the story, and I remember like, oh, maybe if I read the story, it'll somehow feel a little less disturbing to me. And the story is so much worse. It's so much more descriptive and graphic, and pretty much ruined the water for me. I mean, that and Jaws, like, it just ended. Like, I do not go in the water ever.
Yeah, and the scary thing about The Raft too, like, they never explain like what the hell this is. Is this like some kind of like entity that's on top of the water there, it wants to kill you, they don't really say what it is.
Yeah, I've always thought that horror works in the short story form better than it ever did as a novel, because you don't really have to explain anything. You just, here's the situations these people are in, and that's it. And I think a lot of times the more you explain things about horror, I guess the less scary it is.
Right. Yeah, I think it's like the fear of the unknown,
Yeah, completely. Absolutely.
So you would say those two Creepshow stories there were probably your scariest of all time, and did they still rank up there as your scariest of all time?
Yeah, definitely. I saw Creepshow 1. I was pretty young. I want to say like maybe, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade, and seeing Creepshow now, like I get the humor and everything of it, but as a little kid, it was just bothered me so much. Specifically, the Jordy Verrill, and like this thing growing on you and consuming you. I remember being like, I don't know, 10, 11, and being afraid to walk on grass after I saw that. Like, just like absurd, but it stays with you, man. And that specific kind of horror that kind of like is like Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, the Twilight Zone, stuff like that has always resonated with me the most out of any other type of horror.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there on Tales from the Dark Side. That was another one. Growing up and stuff, I would watch that, and that intro to Tales from the Dark Side was what's so fucking terrifying, man. Like, it goes like, fades to black and everything gets all distorted and fucking weird and slows down. It's like that's just as terrifying as the show was,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember the first episode of Tales from the Dark Side I saw was about a radio DJ. I don't remember much else about it, but you slowly realize that he's in hell, and by the end of it, he's like completely transformed. Does that one ring a bell to you at all?
It does, but it's been a while since I went through all the Tales from the Dark Side stuff. So, but it definitely, it does ring a bell. Yes.
Yeah, that's available on DVD, I would imagine. I never picked that up though. When I was a pretty big DVD collector, I missed out on that one. I should pick that up. Is it streaming anywhere?
Last time I checked, this was like a few years ago. It was up on like Amazon. And it was just like the regular, like, I don't know, it wasn't like a Blu-ray edition of it. I don't know if I ever did like a Blu-ray edition or anything. I think it's like straight, almost like VHS quality, but, still decent. But Amazon did have it streaming. I'm not sure where it's at now. Most likely it's probably on Tubi because everything else is on there.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and my fellow podcast co-hosts were just talking about Tubi. Mike was telling me to watch something on there, and I was like, I think that's the one app I don't have.
Oh man, Tubi's great and it's free. Like there's no strings attached. You don't have to throw an email in there or nothing, man, that I know of, because I've had Tubi so long on there. I'm pretty sure I never had to do like an email thing. But yeah, they got some of the best like weird horror movies. They got some of the newer stuff on there, and there's stuff that you just haven't seen in a long time. Like they have certain shows on there that were like canceled when you were a kid and stuff, but it shows back up on Tubi. So that's pretty fucking cool.
Oh wow, yeah, I gotta check that out. We were just watching Peacock last night. And Mike Scandato and I were sort of going back and forth a little bit on this. We both watched the film Megan last night, and it kind of hit me in the middle. I was like, this is PG-13. Like, it's kind of surprising, but it turns out I was watching the unrated cut.
Oh, you know what? That's funny. Me and my wife just got done watching the unrated cut of Megan on Peacock.
yeah, exactly. But I was like, oh, I know this is PG-13. It's dropping a lot of F-bombs and it's pretty graphic. What did you think of the movie?
It wasn't bad, wasn't great. Like if I was to give it a score out of 10, I would probably get like a 7.5. But I was expecting a whole lot worse, and I was actually, I was entertained, but it wasn't, it's not like a child's play or nothing like that. I don't know. It's just, to me, it feels a bit watered down, I guess. And, we've seen the story 1,000 times, but it was well done for what it was, especially for like a kind of a mainstream type movie. I think that's cool that, it's going to attract the younger generation to horror. So, it's kind of like a gateway horror film, I guess,
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. I think we were talking because Necromaniacs would do a 1 through 5 Flaming Skulls, and I think I was like, yeah, that was a solid 3, and I was expecting a 1. Like
right.
I really, it's not the kind of horror movie that really speaks to me, but I was surprised at how well done it was, and I wouldn't call it scary, but it had some moments. It was quite funny too. I thought.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it was entertaining. That was a big thing, It wasn't too long, it was just right. I think it was like maybe 90 minutes, a little bit less. So, it wasn't like a 2.5 hour fucking movie, which I have no issues really with those. But there's so many movies that go over way too long than what they need to be. So it's nice, kind of short and sweet. And I enjoyed the performance, whoever was playing Megan, which I looked it up because I was like, I didn't know if it was like an adult or a kid playing Megan. I found out it was a kid who was like a
Mm.
trained dancer and stuff like that. That's why she was able to do those like weird fucking movements. You know what I mean? I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. It was
Yeah,
really
no,
creepy.
it was a good performance. I mean, like, it wasn't like CGI or anything. It was like, yeah, that's what I kind of thought too. I was like, well, this is a kid made up to, wearing a mask or something like that. And the movement was kind of gave Megan some creepiness to her, the way she moved. It was surprisingly effective, more so than I was expecting, because I really thought I was going to hate it. And at the end, I was like, oh yeah, well, that was all right. Didn't really leave any sort of impact on me at all. But for a mainstream horror movie, yeah, not bad.
Yeah, totally. And also the director of this one also did a really cool film called Housebound. Have you ever seen that?
I have seen that. Yeah, I looked him up after the movie, and I was like, oh, Housebound. I don't remember much about it, but I remember he's Australian or New Zealander or something, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely one to watch. I'm sure they're gonna make 5 more of these movies. The Megan.
Yeah, I've heard some things about this is gonna be a sequel, and I think there's gonna be like 3 of them or something like that. I think they're kind of going in the way of Child's Play, the whole Chucky thing. So that's what this seems to be like, Chucky for the new generation of kids.
Yeah, the longevity of Chucky is really kind of baffling to me. I mean, the first Child's Play came out, I was pretty. Was that 86 or something like that?
I think it might have been a little later than that because I'm pretty sure I watched it I think it was like 88. I have to look that up actually. Maybe 87 or 88, or it could be 86.
Okay.
You could be right, but it feels like it was later than that.
You're probably right.
I remember that absolutely traumatizing me as a kid.
Really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would have thought that in what is it, 2023, Chucky is still going strong with, like, I don't know, there's been so many movies, and I guess now it's a TV show too.
Yeah, it's a TV show now, and also going back, Child's Play was 1988. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So
yeah.
I was like 12 or something. Oh, wow. I thought I was much younger. Interesting.
Yeah, I remember being super, super young, like 4 years old maybe. But I remember this. You don't really remember shit when you're a kid, but this was burned into my memory because I had a My Buddy doll. I don't know if you remember those. Remember the My Buddy dolls?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I had one of those, and that looked like Chucky to me. I mean, it pretty much was Chucky. I'm sure that's what influenced Chucky was My Buddy doll. But anyways, I had one of those, and after watching Child's Play, man, I was fucking ruined for a couple years. Like at least till I was at least 10 years old, man. Like those My Buddy dolls are freaking me out, man. I had to like bury mine in the closet and stuff and hide it and lock the door for it didn't come out and kill me.
There's something inherently creepy about dolls to me, and more specifically puppets. Puppets just fucking freak me out, man.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with that. My aunt used to have like these crazy looking like porcelain dolls and shit like that. She would have in this one room where I would stay at when I stayed with her when I was a kid, and just be sitting there fucking staring at you. I could never sleep. Like, yeah. Puppets and all ain't cool, man.
Oh, no way. And I don't know if you remember, there was a Genesis video in the 80s with these really grotesque looking puppets, like very like wrinkly, and something about it really unnerved me. Like, again, to this day, if that video comes on or anything, something like that, I can't watch it. It deeply disturbs me.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about there because it feels like that's something that traumatized me as well growing up. I just can't remember it, like what it looks like in my head all the way, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny how the stuff that traumatizes me is the stuff I like the most. Like, my whole life have been such a horror fan, and then the ones that really bother me, the ones that really disturb me, are the ones I always seem to like the most. Like, because it did its job. Like, this really got to me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I've gotten older, it's harder to find things that really like hit me like that. But like we were saying, being younger, our brains were like kind of ready for that kind of shit. But Just like the newer stuff, I find things kind of scary, I guess, but nothing really like, ooh, scares the shit out of me. Real life scares me. That's what scares me. Watching the news, that scares me. But like when it comes to horror movies, it's hard to find one that really fucking, gives me the chills,
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And I think the stuff that's a little bit, I guess, more plausible is the stuff that scares me, like Midsummer. It's, I guess, possible to find yourself in a situation like that. There's nothing supernatural going on, but that movie really got to me. If I would think of one recent horror movie that got under my skin, that would definitely be one of them. I found the ending very disturbing, and just the tension building throughout the movie. And I know that's kind of a divisive one. It seems people have strong opinions on it, one way or the other, positive and negative. But it's one of my favorites of the last couple decades, easily.
Yeah, I dug it too, but yeah, there's a lot of hate for that movie, and that's cool. I totally get it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and yeah, that the whole sequence of things that go down in that movie is something that can totally really happen. You got one of those friends. Oh, I like to travel and stuff. You should come with me. I got this, like, I'm gonna show you some cool shit. I got a friend just like that, man. I know he would get us in some shit like this, so I can totally see that happening.
Totally, yeah. Another recent one that's been the topic of much discussion was Skinamarink. And we did an episode of Necromaniacs with all three hosts about it, and it's really kind of interesting, the reactions that film has gotten. Most of it, I would say, pretty negative.
Oh yeah, and also a great episode as always. That was a really good one. And
thanks, man.
I think we all share the same thoughts on this one. I really, really dug it, but there's people that really, really hate it, and there's not really an in between. You either love it or hate it, and it's extremes on both sides there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and outside of, I guess, you and Mike, most people, every person I talked to about it fucking really hated it.
Yeah, and I get the hate. It's not like it's not a normal movie. It's an experience. It's especially to what it did for me. It brought back childhood nightmares and stuff like that. That nailed it. I'm a '90s kid too, so like how they had it filmed in like '95 and stuff. That house that they filmed in, you can barely see anything, but you can still get that feeling that was a '90s house. There's '90s things going on in there, and it just, I don't know, brought back a lot of that childhood like nightmare shit for me.
Yeah, it really affected me too. It's kind of spoke to me on the same level. It brought me back to, memories I didn't even realize I still had. Like, if I could think of being like a young kid, 4, 5, 6 or whatever, and the nightmares I would have, that was probably the most accurate that I can remember. I was like, this is exactly what I remember nightmares being like when I was a child. So maybe that's why it really really worked for me. That, and yeah, just like, I dug its experimental nature, and just its whole vibe, man. It's really, really cool. And again, not for everyone, but watching it kind of reminded me of the first time I listened to the album Earth 2 from the band Earth. I don't know if you're familiar with that record.
I'm familiar with Earth. Record wise, I don't know the name of all their records and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of Earth, but I do know they're like droney stuff, and
Yeah, well, it's pretty much the template of what Sun would do. Like Sun basically kind of took their thing and ran with it. But it felt like that just the first time hearing it. Like, it's just an hour of really low end, basically feedback and chords ringing out. Skinamarink was sort of like the visual version of that. Like, people talk about, oh, it's too long, but I think its length is part of its effectiveness. Like, if that was just 20 minutes, you're not really sort of immersed in something as you are if it's 90 minutes.
Right, and yeah, it totally has that Sun vibe to it, man. This is like straight dark engulfing drone, doominess almost. Like the atmosphere, like you said, the length and everything's perfect. Like it would be, if it was too short, you wouldn't like be transported there and stuff. That's the way I felt anyways. Like I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when the film was over and we turned the lights on in the house and, walked into the other room to get my phone, it was really sort of like, man, I just went through something. Like I just had an experience. Like, and that's cool, man, because the older you get, the less this stuff kind of works on you, and it's really great to have a moment like that with a film. And so, I mean, I've said this a million times, and I was like, I don't see that not making my top 5 horror movies of 2023.
Oh yeah, it's definitely gonna be in my top 10 already. It's gonna be in my top 10. I don't see that changing. So
yeah, this year's pretty front loaded. There seems to be a lot of cool things that have been released that I haven't watched everything yet, but we got Infinity Pool. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
No, that's on my list. I want to see that really bad. I got to get caught up with a lot of shit right now. I'm slacking because things happen in life, and I need to get back on the horror train. Just watching movies in general train. I'm slowly getting back there right now. So, but that's like one of my number ones I want to check out because Cronenberg.
Yeah. Cronenberg Jr. is making quite a path for himself. Really, this 3 films into his career, and he's this interesting, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing great so far. There's nothing I don't like that he's done, and like everything's actually really exceptional. Like he's fallen down his dad's path, like, but doing his own thing too. It's not like he's being like his dad and everything. He's got his own style, but it's still really dark like his dad's work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The influence is absolutely there, and you can tell. But he does have his own voice. That's the thing I've always said about filmmakers like David Cronenberg. You can try to copy what he does, but you're not David Cronenberg. Like the way he thinks and the way he approaches things make his films what they are. So you can copy the visual of something squishy and gross happening with your body, but it'll never quite be, authentic. You know what I mean? And Brandon Cronenberg, you see like the visual influence from his dad, but he has his own approach and thoughts, and it's really interesting, man. Possessor is one of the greats too. Like that's another movie that really just fucking got under my skin, man.
Oh yeah, Possessor was so good. I need to get a rewatch on that one because I've only seen it once so far, and so much goes on with that one. It's such a hit. You know what I mean? I need to watch that one again. Just kind of let it sink in some more.
Yeah, man. And I'm an older guy, so most of my friends are right in my age range, and a lot of them are like, man, horror stopped being good a long time ago. And I'm like, man, you just aren't paying attention. And there's some really phenomenal people kind of carrying the torch.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too with people saying there's no good horror anymore, and I think that's a total lie. You just got to look, and there's so much out there too. Like we have an abundance of horror right now.
Yeah, I think every week, every time I talk to Mike Hill or Mike Scandato or you, I'm always hearing I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. Like all these shows, there's so much out there now. And if you're open to it, there's, you're going to find some really great stuff.
Yeah, totally. And unfortunately, with the stuff I like, they seem to be canceling everything, which sucks,
really?
Man. Like every good show I like, they cancel. Yeah. They just canceled Let the Right One In, the TV series.
I have the Showtime app, but I didn't have it set up on our new TV since we moved to Austin. Never signed in to Showtime. Like one day I was like, oh yeah, I should probably sign in. And I got to check out this Let the Right One In show. Everyone says it's good. And it's not even streaming on their app.
No, unfortunately, nobody knows where that went to. We're hoping it's going to pop up on Tubi or something, but they just kind of erased it from everything. So, which is pretty shitty. You know what I mean? Especially if you weren't even done with the series yet and you're following it, and
Right.
They just erased it from everywhere.
That's kind of a new thing too. Like even if you like the show, like that got canceled. Eventually, it would end up on DVD. And sometimes when the show was canceled in the middle of the run and they didn't even air the rest of the episodes, you could catch it on DVD. And now, if something doesn't work, it will just seems to completely disappear. Like no physical media. I was reading that Barbarian didn't even get a Blu-ray. That movie was a huge hit.
Oh yeah, that is true. I haven't seen any kind of Blu-rays for that, and that was my favorite of last year, I believe. Yeah, I think that was my number one.
Oh, was it? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it made my top 6, but definitely top 10. I thought it was a fantastic movie and just unique approach. And that's one of those movies where really like you need to know absolutely nothing about it. Like, don't watch the trailer, just watch the movie. I think that's the best way to experience that.
Yeah, and that's how I've been going in with films nowadays. I used to be a trailer guy back when I was a little bit younger and stuff, but I try to avoid all trailers because they reveal so much. I'm gonna be surprised. I want to go in knowing as the least amount of shit. I want to, you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm the exact same way. The only trailer I think I watched more than once was like the Batman. I'm so obsessed with Batman and get excited every time there's a new Batman film. So I watched that trailer like 100 times. And even though it's a 3-hour movie and a 2-hour trailer, like it does kind of annoy me. Like they really showed almost a beat from every major moment of that film in the trailer. And it changes your viewing experience. You're like, well, I haven't seen this scene yet from the trailer, so that's coming up. And but yeah, the best way to go in is completely cold. When they drop a Batman 2 trailer, I'm probably gonna watch it a million fucking times.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that too, especially because it's more of a bigger budget film and stuff, so they probably got, and it's over 2 hours long, so there's a lot they can pull from it. But like when it comes to like the smaller horror movies and stuff, like they can really spoil some shit for you, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the curiosity kind of always gets me. Like, okay, I gotta check it out. Like I know Ari Aster's got a new one coming out, and I watched the trailer for that, and I don't know what to expect after watching that trailer.
It's got a crazy ass title and stuff, and I haven't seen the trailer for it either. But I'm just like, what is this going to be? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think I read that it's a comedy, which curious to see what a comedy from that guy looks like.
Yeah, very curious. I'm sure it's going to be really a dark comedy, but
I would hope so. Yeah, and
yeah.
I've made it a point this year to get to the theater more, because last year the only thing I saw in the theater was Batman, and we're in Austin, Texas now. We have the Draft House here, which is an amazing movie theater. There's one in LA that opened up fairly recently, and that's where we saw the Batman. And I'm like, man, where has this fucking place been all my life? This is just one of the best, probably the best theater I've ever been to.
Wow. I would love to have one of those here. We have the Regal Theaters is what we have here, or AMC, one of the two. I'm not I don't really go to the movie theaters that much, man, because every time I do, it's ruined by a whole bunch of loud ass fucking people on their phones. And I hate that, it takes me out of everything,
Totally. Coming from LA, we had a thing called the ArcLight. And the ArcLight in Hollywood had the Cinerama Dome attached to it. It was just this huge theater, this huge screen that kind of curved. That was my favorite theater to go to. They, like the Draft House, had a very strict, no talking, no cell phones, things like that. That was the first theater I ever went to with a sign, you picked your seats and things like that, which I guess is fairly common now with every theater. But they were, LA is very much a film kind of crowd. Like half the people who live in LA are in the business. So I think there was a little bit more respect in that sense in LA. But like when I lived in New York, same thing that you were saying. Every time I went to the theater, there there's some fucking Yahoo. I remember seeing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 with my stepdaughter, and this guy was literally on his phone the whole time.
Oh man, that is the worst.
Yeah, I don't get that, man. Like, what, you paid money to see this too. What the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, it don't make any sense. And then their lights from their phones are like flashing your eyes and shit. Like it distracts you, and then like why are you even there?
Yeah, totally. I always went to the very first showing of the day when I see a movie. That is another way to sort of combat that, because if you're going to a 9:30 a.m. showing of something, it's not going to be packed.
Right. Yeah. Get there before the crowds get out there, I guess, or like not saying teenagers, but yeah, a lot of the teenagers are the loud ones. But there's a lot of fucking adults in there doing the same shit, being fucking loud with their phones. So
yeah, adults are almost worse, But yeah, anytime I went to like an AMC or whatever in LA, it was never a good experience. I remember going to see Infinity Wars, I think it was. And right when the lights go down, this kid stood up and yelled, "Spider-Man dies."
Oh, shit.
I was like, oh, okay. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, my goal this year is to get back to the theater, and I think the new Ari Aster will be one of the first things I see. I know. I really like those John Wick movies. I'm pretty sure we're gonna go see that.
Oh yeah, those are great, man. Holy shit, those are some of the best action movies that come out since like the late '80s, early '90s. It's like pure action, like fucking awesomeness. And
they get better as they go along. 3 was my favorite of the ones out there.
Oh yeah, 3 was solid. I don't know which one's my favorite. I kind of like to me they all kind of blend in as one giant awesome movie. So I can't really pick one, but they're all so good, and like the fight scenes are so great. The gunplay is really great, and Keanu Reeves is a plus because he's fucking awesome. So just having him there, in that role is really cool.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is, I wouldn't call him great actor, but a great movie star. Like he looks good kicking ass on screen, and as long as he's doing that, he's got it.
Yeah, he's definitely no Oscar winner when it comes to like acting and everything like that, but just him as a person, like you said, when he's in action doing his thing, like he is like perfection.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a more dramatic role that he's been in there. I'm like, he wasn't too bad, but nothing is really coming to mind. There's that Sam Raimi movie where he kind of plays like a redneck. The Gift.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah. Damn, that's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that. But then you watch something like the Dracula, the Coppola movie, and oh man, what were they thinking casting him?
Yeah, his role was a little weird, but the movie overall like was still so fucking killer to me. Anyways, that's one of my favorite like Dracula movies. Is that one just because Oldman playing Dracula. Like he's another badass and a hell of an actor.
Yeah, that is one of my favorites. When you think about 90s horror, that one really, really comes to mind. Which is something I was just discussing with my friend, because In Search of Darkness Part 3 came out, and I guess that's a wrap. And I was like, man, I hope they do more. And my friend said, yeah, they're going to do the 90s next. And I'm very curious to see that, because when I think about 90s horror, not a lot comes to my mind. And you grew up in the 90s, so you probably have a better read on that than I do.
Yeah, I did an episode on that. I don't know how long ago that was, but we did an episode talking about 90s horror and stuff, because I had somebody tell me, like, there's nothing good in the 90s. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, holy shit, there's so much good 90s stuff. And I just started, there really is. Like, now, if you're looking at the late 90s, I can see that, like, 98, 99. That's before it gets into, like, the Scream stuff, I guess. I think Scream came in, like, 2000. And then it goes down that weird road. But, like, early 90s and mid 90s, there's a lot of fucking weird, cool shit out there.
Yeah. Candyman obviously comes to mind. And unpopular opinion, I think, but my favorite John Carpenter movie is In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, I think that might be my favorite, just because all the Lovecraftian stuff in there. Like, that is like the best not Lovecraft movie ever made, or at least one of them.
That I think that's the movie that kind of turned me on to like I got to read Lovecraft. It was that movie, I think I was probably about 17 when that came out. Uh,
Mhm.
and I remember my friends and I just going to the theater and being completely blown away to the point where we went back to the theater the next day to go see it. Yeah, I mean, like I know it's not regarded as one of his classics, but man, I love that movie. That's his Apocalypse trilogy is untouchable, and that's my favorite one.
I'm totally right there with you. Like I would put In the Mouth of Madness right next to Halloween. Halloween's always gonna be probably my favorite John Carpenter. I mean, it's fucking Halloween.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
of
think In the
course.
Mouth of Madness is like the second spot there for me. And that's hard.
Oh,
That's hard to say because he's got a lot of good stuff.
yeah, that's another one. Like any like we were talking about the original zombie trilogy, Night, Day, and Dawn, or Night, Dawn, and Day, rather. And I always say whatever one I'm watching at the moment is my favorite. I'm like, no, this is my favorite. No, this is my favorite. John Carpenter's kind of the same way with me. Anytime I'm watching something he directed, I'm like, no, this is definitely my favorite Carpenter movie. Um, there's just so many classics in there, man. Like from like the 70s to like the 90s, it was just great movie after great movie. Like, but unfortunately, like most of the great directors kind of fell off a little later in his career.
Yeah, I think I enjoy Ghost of Mars,
Me
one of
too.
his later movies, but a lot of
Yeah.
people really hate that one. But I liked it, man. But I always thought like I thought like what would you call them, like the kind of like the whatever the Ghost of Mars were, like they were a bunch of like caveman kind of looking people or whatever, but kind of demonic looking. They always remind me of, like fucking really awesome like industrial metalheads or something.
Yeah, man. Say what you will about Ghost of Mars, but it is a John Carpenter film through and through. Like it's unmistakably him, and I think it's aged really well. You can kind of look at it through a nostalgic lens now. Because I mean, he's just the only guy that made like the kind of films he made, and I think that was his last movie until the Masters of Horror, and then he did The Ward or something it was called, and
Yeah, yeah. The
such a
Ward was not
discipline.
very
Yeah,
good.
man. Yeah, it's not very good at all. But one of his Masters of Horror episodes is really good.
Cigarette Burns.
Yes, yeah, that's the
Yes.
one written by
Yeah.
Drew McWeeny, the guy who used to write for Ain't It Cool News. Yeah, that's a really good one. I miss that show.
I do too. I think they did what 2 seasons of Masters of Horror. Then it turned into that other show that was supposedly a continuation to Masters of Horror, but Mick Garris had nothing to do with the new stuff, and that's probably why the newer whatever that new I can have a brain fart on the name of the new show that he did, but it
Fear
wasn't near
Itself.
as good. Yeah, Fear Itself. There's a few good episodes here and there, but it
Yeah.
didn't have the Mick Garris touch on there. Mick Garris had nothing to do with it. And I
Oh,
wanted to see more Masters
I
of
didn't know
Horror.
that. I didn't know Mick
Yeah,
Garris didn't have anything to do with that. What a great idea he had too. Like, we're just gonna get all these horror directors together, give them, $1 million to shoot something, and it was so cool. I wish he would revive that or something, and like, for like a streaming service.
that would be great. The thing he did do that is kind of like an homage to it was one of his, I think it was his last film as of right now. He's working on Mick Garris working on stuff as we speak. But Nightmare Cinema, have you seen that?
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, that's kind of like the spiritual successor to Masters of Horror.
Oh, okay, all right.
Even though it's a movie, but you know what I mean. It has all
Yeah,
it's like an anthology, but yeah, it's kind of like a spiritual successor. So
yeah. Didn't Joe Dante direct something in that too, or like a segment? I want to
I
say.
believe so. Believe so.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that would be great for like to like just bring that back. Mick Garris does so much cool shit for horror.
Oh, he's the man, and like I was so honored when I got to like interview him and stuff and talk face to face. Well, it's computer to computer, but still, it's just like wow, I'm talking to Mick Garris right now. Like this is
Yeah,
like
man.
it's up there with Stephen King for me. Like these are two of the greatest minds in horror that's ever lived.
Yeah, absolutely. I like his podcast a lot too.
Oh yeah, Postmortem's great. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he just seems like the nicest guy in the movie business.
Yeah, he's a normal, awesome dude. Like, and he's done it all. I mean, he made The Stand, and The Stand to me is one of the best horror miniseries ever, and it did Stephen King total justice. You know.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. I did see. I remember watching some of The Shining back when that was on.
That was good too, and that was another one that Stephen King really liked because Stephen King never liked the original Shining film because it's so much, so like far off from what he wrote, and he had a big issue with it.
Yeah, that's always like, and Stephen King just doesn't seem to be willing to let that go at all. I mean, he specifically, when he wrote Doctor Sleep, made it like not like just pretended like the Shining film didn't exist, which made the movie. I don't know how did you feel about the movie and the book? I didn't read the book, but
Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved the book and I really, really enjoyed the movie. But I think I preferred the book just a little bit more. But I mean, the movie pretty much nailed everything that was in the book, which is a rarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he was kind of in a weird spot as a director. It's like, well, this is a sequel to the film, but the book isn't. The book is its own thing. So he kind of had that weird line to straddle. I have to adapt the book, but I also have to pay respects to the film before it. And it was I need to watch that again. I wasn't totally sure how I felt about it.
I think there's a 3-hour cut of that film, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I've seen the 3-hour cut. It's like the super, super long cut. I did like the one right before that, but
I think that's what I saw because I remember thinking like, wow, this is long.
Yeah, I'm like, 2.5 hours is really, really stretching it for me. 3 hours is like way out there.
Yeah, there's some things that need that length. Like Midsummer. Like I would never found myself looking at my watch or anything like that, or like my mind wandering. Like it moved really well. I think it needed the 2 hours or 2 hours 20 minutes, whatever it was. And then I watched the director's cut of that, and I still prefer the theatrical cut.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a director's cut of that either. I've only watched the regular cut.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple scenes in there. I'm like, yeah, I can see why these didn't. I can see why these got cut. Kind of, they take place at night, and I thought it just kind of killed the vibe of the whole movie to have like scenes that take place at night.
Yeah, and another thing, talking about long movies and stuff, man. I think we need to have more like mini series again, like we used to have like back in the day. Instead of like trying to cram everything into one film. Let's do let's make this in like a 3-part miniseries,
Yeah, that was that's such a 90s thing too, man. Like the Stephen King miniseries, you had The Stand, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, that would be cool to bring back because, like sometimes on the flip side of that, something can go on way too long and completely ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lost would have been a great 3-season show, but it went on and on and on, and it became very evident like these guys have no fucking idea like where they want to go with this.
Yeah, that's true with Lost, and yeah, I was all down like the first 5 seasons, or like 3 or 4 seasons actually. I was really down with it, but towards the end, it just went. I don't know where it really went. I thought it was going to go somewhere else, and I don't know. It was too many seasons, like you said. They just kind of lost their motivation and like their train of thought, I guess.
Yeah, and like the X-Files, I think that was 9 seasons. I heard you guys were talking about that on your top 6 scariest moments. And when you said the X-Files, I knew exactly what episode you were going to say.
Oh man, yeah, you can't forget that one when it's like engraved in your brain.
Oh man, I remember watching that when it was when it aired on TV and just being like, Jesus Christ, man, this is like actually fucking scary.
Yeah, terrifying, which a lot of the X-Files episodes were terrifying. The original X-Files, I'm not counting that shit that came out in the 2000s, like when they tried to revive it again. I don't
Oh
know what that
God.
was, but it was
Yeah.
horrible, and I don't even want to. That doesn't. Yeah, that's not my X Files. I don't know what that was, you know.
I would
But
like to pretend that doesn't exist.
yeah, like what was that, man? Like that's not X. That's just like we're trying to get a money grab or something, you know.
Yeah, I think there was one episode I kind of liked. It was more like a throwback to the funny episodes. It had the guy from the Flight of the Conchords. I forget his name, but I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. But yeah, overall, it was fucking garbage. And the second film they released too was just it was like, okay, that's a thing that exists.
Yeah, I didn't really dig the films. I didn't really like the X Files films. I was like, why even do an X Files film that seems just like it seems like another episode of the X Files, pretty much, you know?
I remember the second film specifically because I experienced my first earthquake in the theater watching that.
Oh shit.
And I remember thinking, like, great, I'm gonna die watching this fucking piece of shit. And so that movie stands out for that reason. But yeah, it just went on too long. Once Mulder left, and actually, some of the episodes with the newer guy, the Terminator guy, were pretty good.
Yeah, like all the way up to like I said, the whole like first edition X Files, all the way through those episodes. All those are pretty solid. I mean, they had some pretty memorable ones and really dark ones too. There was one that I haven't seen in a while. I used to catch on repeat, or I'm still going through the X Files again for like the 20th time, but I'm not even
Yeah.
close to where that stuff's at. But there's one with like this guy's making these like demonic masks and stuff in this house or like in this apartment and shit, and he's like some type of like demon or something, man. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
I just don't know what the name of that one is. It's super dark, and I think that's one without like Mulder and stuff in there. Mulder might be in this one actually, thinking about it, but it's one of the later episodes, and I was like, man, this is so good.
Oh man, what one stands out? The guy from the Saw movies, Tobin Bell. Do you remember that one where it has to do with like cigarettes and like nicotine?
Oh, I do, but I can't recall it like really in my head. But I know about Tobin Bell being in those episodes.
Yeah, but yeah, I like it. Like that's an example of something that could have maybe gone on too long, and maybe ruined it. I just saw that they're shooting season 2 of Severance, and I was thinking, like, man, I hope they do like 3 seasons tops, because that just, if you try to do like 6, 7, 8 seasons of that, it's gonna ruin it, man. The mystery is so much a part of like what makes that show great.
Oh yeah, hopefully they don't do like a ton of seasons of that. Like I think 3 would be optimal because I really want to see what's going on, because I'm like 90% sure there's some like crazy occult shit going on, and maybe some type of like god worship, like ancient gods or something, and maybe some Lovecraftian shit. There's some weird shit going on in the background of all this stuff, and it started showing some of it in the later episodes. Like there's something really fucking weird going on.
Yeah, I'm very curious to watch that unfold. Right now, it's my favorite thing on TV. It was the first thing we watched when we moved to Austin. None of our stuff had shown up yet. We just had like our backpacks, and we went to Costco and bought like lawn chairs, and we bought a TV. So just sitting in lawn chairs in an empty house watching a TV on the floor, and and that's what we watched. And like that'll always be like a really fond memory of that show. Like, oh man, remember we had absolutely nothing, and just so yeah. We'll see. I hope it's great. I hope it stays consistently great. Like, remember how excited everyone in horror was about The Walking Dead, and then 5 years later, you're like, oh god, this thing's still on.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was super excited. I remember, I think I was out of town when I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead. I was like, holy shit, this is on regular TV. This is on TV. Like, this is like a major horror thing that's on TV. This is so cool. Then go back like 10 years later, like, oh man, is this shit done yet?
Yeah, it started out so cool. Like the comic book was great, and you had Frank Darabont, being the showrunner and directing, and it kind of fell apart rather quickly for me. I think I'm not quite sure when I tapped out, but it was, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5. It's just rinse and repeat the same thing over and over again. Like, we're in a new safe place, and here comes the big bad guy, and then
Yeah.
it's another bad guy. This guy has a bat. It just got too much, and then there was spin-off shows, and man, I just they kind of ruined zombies for me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm still zombied out. But I am watching The Last of Us because it's more like they're not really zombies. They're more like, mushrooms taking control of humans or animals or whatever. Something a little bit different. And they kind of run around like the quotation zombies from 28 Days Later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they're really vicious and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, we're watching it too, and I'm curious. What are your thoughts on it? Like, I for a video game adaptation, I mean, it's very good.
Oh yeah, definitely one of the best video game adaptations ever. But overall, like, just watching it, like, I like it a lot. It's not going to be like a 9 or 10 for me. It's like an 8, if I was to rate it right now, just because, I've already seen all this kind of stuff before.
Sure.
And, it's still kind of, there's a little bit of Walking Dead in there still with this, like, with the whole town thing, and you got the big bad of the town and shit like that. So it's like, it's good.
Yeah.
It's not reinventing anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. Did you play the game? Are you like a gamer or anything?
I do game and stuff, but I never beat The Last of Us. I played like a couple hours in and stuff, and I really liked it, but for some reason I think I got pissed off because there's an area where you had to do a lot of stealth, and I fucking hate stealth in games. I just like to mow through shit. So I got frustrated with that, and I put it down.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I enjoyed the game. I usually don't get really too into the story of the games. I just like running around blowing shit up. But I remember thinking like that this is the most movie-like game I've ever played. And if they ever adapt this into a film like this, this has potential to be really, really good.
Mm-hmm. No, I think they're nailing what I played and what I'm seeing here. Like they're nailing it. So
yeah. Verdict's still out. There's a couple episodes, like the later episodes, that were like, oh man, they seem to be glossing over things that should be like major moments. But I'll reserve judgment until it's all said and done. But man, those first 3 episodes were just so good.
oh yeah, totally. Especially I don't know if it was the 3rd or 4th episode, but I know the Nick Offerman episode or whatever, like the whole love story thing. That was so fucking sad. I was like, God damn it.
yeah, that was really great and totally unexpected. I like 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this is a whole episode. Cool. Really liked it. It's fallen off a little bit for me after that, but still enjoying it.
Yeah, when they meet the new town people, wherever, like I think they're in Kansas City or something like that, and they run into that whole like mob of like people and stuff that are trying to kill them and stuff. I'm like, all right, this is where it feels more like Walking Dead to me.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Totally agree with that. And that's another thing. Like, don't make this like a 6-7 season show. Like, I could see this wrapping up in 2 or 3 seasons. But of course, if it's a huge hit, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it until it's until they drive it into the ground.
Yeah, and if they just go over most of the material from like the first 2 games, there's only 2 games out for this. Like, I think a 3rd one's being worked on and stuff, but yeah, I don't think they will get more than like 3 or 4 seasons, but who knows? They might start writing in their own shit and, get away from the whole game stuff and do their own storyline,
Yeah. Well, I think they've already kind of deviated from the game in some aspects. I hadn't played the game in probably like 10 years or whenever it came out, so I don't remember it quite that well, but it seems they were definitely kind of doing their own thing with that, which seems to have angered people. I don't know, but some people just don't get like an adaptation is just that, you're taking something
Right.
and making it your own, and it really seems to anger people when you don't strictly stick to the source material.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like, you read the book or you played the game, so you want to watch a movie that's you're gonna know every little fucking thing that happens. Like, that makes no sense to me. I want to see like, it's an adaptation. I want to see like their view of this game or movie and stuff. Like, yeah, I don't understand the anger. I think it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I like when things kind of like carve their own path. Like as much as I did not like the Suspiria remake, I had a lot of respect for it. Like, you can't out Argento, so just do your own thing.
Right.
And they definitely did their own thing. However, did not like it.
I was a fan of it. I enjoyed it. I love the soundtrack, and I also love like I don't know, it was just good and some of the special effects in there, especially like the that one dance scene where just girl starts her limbs start like breaking back, and you know what I mean. That one scene there was pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely had its moments, but that was one where I was like, Jesus Christ, is this thing still on? Like,
Yeah,
I
that
feel like I've
was a
been
long
watching it
one.
for 4 hours. I like that director quite a bit. I forget his name, but he just did Bones and All, which I
I
loved.
love that one.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you?
dude,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I loved it. He also made a film called Call Me by Your Name with the kid from Bones and All and Army Hammer, who's now a cannibal or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what's going on with that, but it was a really
yeah,
good
that
movie.
guy.
Yeah.
Is that a horror movie too, or?
No, it's sort of a love story and a coming of age story, and it's just this really really atmospheric film. It was one of I think it came out in 2018. I want to say it was one of my favorite films of that year, and I was really excited when I heard. I was like, "This guy's making Suspiria! Holy shit, that's going to be amazing!" Um,
I, yeah, if I would have seen Bones and All last year when it came out, that would have been on my top 10 list. Like, I didn't see it till this year, unfortunately. But I was like, holy shit, this is good.
Yeah, it was one of those things that like I'm like I watched the beginning of the year, so I caught it in time. I believe that must have did that make my top? Yeah, I'm trying to think back on our Necromaniacs episode where we did our top six. That had to no, actually, you know what? I don't think I'd seen
I
it
don't
at
think
that
it
point.
did.
So
Yeah.
yeah, God, how quickly I forgot. I think my favorite last year was Speak No Evil. That was it.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, talk about taking me by surprise. I had zero expectations. I was just sort of flipping through Shudder looking for something to watch before I went to work. I just kind of got up early and couldn't get back to sleep. So I was like, yeah, I'll watch something. Oh, okay. Shudder original? Sure, I'll give this a shot. And at the end, I was like, well, that was a fucking day ruiner if I've ever seen one.
Oh, yeah. I call those kind of films like weekend ruiners. You know, you watch it on a Saturday, you feel like shit the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, it reminded me of the first time I saw I think it's a Dutch word, The Vanishing. You ever see that?
Okay. I don't know. When did that come out? There's a couple
Oh,
movies
that's
I'm thinking that might be The Vanishing.
it's a foreign film. It was remade in America with Jeff Bridges and Kiefer Sutherland. But yeah, I don't know, 80s ish. I can't remember quite what year it came out, but it gave me that feeling. I won't give away The Vanishing, but like you gotta watch that. That is definitely a weekend ruiner.
You know what? I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and I've definitely seen this, but I don't remember it for shit. So this would be a good one to revisit.
Yeah, the remake stinks, and oddly, yeah, it's by the same director. He remade his own film and fucking completely ruined it.
Is that the Jeff Bridges one that sucks?
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
Okay.
The original is one of the best, one of the most chilling films I've ever seen, ever.
All right, I have to check that out. And speaking of like films that can ruin a weekend, what was I going to? Oh yeah, have you ever seen Kids?
It, I know the Harmony, not Harmony Korine, Larry Clark.
Yes, Harmony.
Kids.
Yeah, I think Harmony was on. He did this film too. I think it was both of them.
Yeah, I think he wrote it and Larry Clark directed. That's
Yeah,
Chloe Sevigny's first film, right?
Yes, I believe so. I don't know if this came before whatchamacallit. Shit. What was Harmony's big like famous film?
Gummo?
Yeah, Gummo. I don't know which one came first off the top of my head, but both of those
Kids.
movies, they ruined my weekend, both of them, especially Gummo. Gummo especially ruined my shit because of the cat killing in that movie. God
Oh
damn it,
God.
man.
Yeah, that's one thing that really bothers me in horror films when the dog or the cat dies.
Yeah.
That will always get me, man. I'm a big. I got 3 cats. They're actually all in the room with me right now. Anytime I talk on the phone or do a podcast, they won't fucking leave me alone.
Yeah, we got 2 of them, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we had 2 that we moved from LA to Austin with. And I came home one day, and my girlfriend was like, "Oh my God, there's something upstairs. You got to see this." And I thought for sure tarantula or something like that, something I'm terrified of. And I opened the door, and there's this like little kitten just chilling. And I was like, "Oh
Man.
well, I guess we got a 3rd cat now." uh, but yeah, I mean, I'd have like 10 if I could. I love cats.
Same here.
But Gummo, yeah, not even a horror movie, and still just like, oof, like Jesus Christ.
It's a horrific movie, is what it is. It's horrific, man. I mean, it's a fantastic. It's a masterpiece of what it is. But god damn, it makes you just feel like total shit.
Yeah, the kid eating spaghetti in the bathtub is that's a top 6 for you right there.
Yeah, and it's so weird. It's dirty ass fucking bathtub. He's eating spaghetti and then a chocolate bar in there, and he drops a chocolate bar in the water with him and stuff in his bath water. It's like, what the fuck is this, man?
That's right. I totally forgot about that. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's not one I go back to a lot. It's
No.
too much for me, man. It's like I recognize it's greatness, but like I don't ever want to really sit through that again. Like Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. Like, wow, this is incredible. Not gonna watch it again.
Right, those are one and dones. Like, they're fantastic pieces of art, but I'm never gonna go back and rewatch that for pleasure.
No, definitely. Like Martyrs is another one that comes to mind too, where I was just like, Jesus Christ, man. Like
Yeah.
one and done. Don't want to see that again. But it's incredible. It's an incredible film.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's also a masterpiece, but yeah, I don't want to revisit that one if I don't have to.
Fuck no. Yeah, no, not for me, man. Not at all.
Or they did a remake of it, but I've never seen a remake, and I have no interest in seeing a remake. I'm like, why would you want to remake this film?
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't see it either, but I've heard it's like a watered down version of the original. And again, like the extremity, like how extreme that's the point. And if you don't have that, like the movie doesn't work. Like I just watched the American remake of Goodnight Mommy. And so dull and pointless. And the original is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it ranks up there pretty high. Yeah, that's another weekend ruiner too. I'll put that in that category. So
yeah, that is definitely a weekend ruiner, man. Such a bleak film, man. I love it. And the American remake was just toned down and had felt like a TV movie. Like it had no atmosphere whatsoever. Just completely pointless.
And I'm not sure why they remade it. It just came out recently. I mean, the original's not that old at all. It's like a few years old. Then they come out with this fucking remake. Do people not want to read subtitles? Is that the reason or what? I don't know.
I think so, man. Because remember, like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo remake came out like almost like right after the original. And the original for a foreign film kind of made it was big here, if I remember. Like a lot of people have seen it. And I just said, why does David Fincher want to do this? Like all the things he could be doing like a remake to a movie that's 2 years old.
Yeah, so odd. I've never seen the remake. I've seen all the original films, and I thought they were really cool. And now they were out when Netflix really started getting big too. That was like one of Netflix's like big series of films. They got the rights to,
Yeah,
the dragon tattoo and stuff. And yeah, I've never seen the remake. I didn't know David Fincher did the remake, so that's interesting. But I haven't seen them.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch knowing that it's like David Fincher. But I mean, it is beat for beat pretty much the same movie. I haven't seen either in a while. There probably are some differences, but yeah, just utterly pointless. A lot of times American remakes of foreign films just don't work. Like they can, but so often they don't.
I think one of the better ones was Let the Right One In. You know, I still love the original
Yeah.
over the remake, but the remake was still pretty solid.
Yeah, I was so greatly opposed to that film being remade. Let the Right One In is that's a top 10 of all time.
Oh yeah,
And
that's a perfect film.
yeah, it's incredible. Like you can't really improve on it. And I don't think the remake improves on it, but yeah, it's really good. Matt Reeves is a fantastic, visual director. I mean, when I heard he was the guy who was going to be doing Batman, I was like, all right, cool. Like this is probably going to be really cool. But yeah, that movie in particular, man, it looks great, but like, and the original is just, it's untouchable, man. And
Yeah,
again, when I heard it was a TV show, I was like, what? But by all accounts, the TV show was great. I don't know.
yeah, it was awesome. Me and my wife loved it. I believe Mike loved it a lot too, and like because they took a different direction with Let the Right One In. You know, they weren't just copying what's already been done, and the direction they were taking was really fucking cool. You know, and then you get the fucking you see on Facebook, oh, Let the Right One In just got canceled. I'm like, it just got done with season one, like weeks before it got canceled, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it being on Showtime too, it's like you almost don't have a chance right out the gate because no one I know has Showtime. You know what I mean? And if it's
I
not
do.
Dexter, yeah, I do too. Like it
Yeah.
seems like Dexter was like their last show that people watched, and again, talking about shows that went on way too long.
I don't know. Yeah, I will say the last season of Dexter, not the one that just came out with the son and stuff, but last actual season of Dexter, I thought that was a bit of a letdown. I was like, why is it going in this direction? Why she got to die? Why is he getting caught? This is Dexter. He's not supposed to get caught.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with that. Everything up to that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the first season was the only one I truly enjoyed, but
I got you.
they actually filmed when I lived in Hollywood. They filmed a lot of Dexter in my apartment building and on my street.
Whoa, that's
Um,
cool as shit.
yeah, actually, there's a scene in season 3 where like Dexter used my parking spot. Like we had to clear out everything in the parking area, and yeah, and like it was fun to watch him set up camp and shoot a TV show, and I'm just sitting in my apartment looking out the window watching them film Dexter. So like I kind of knew like spoilers before they even aired.
That's way badass. Did you get to meet Michael C. Hall or anybody like that, or?
Yeah, actually, and Keith Gordon, the actor from Christine and Jaws 2, is was one of the directors of Dexter. He was like one of the regular directors.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to talk to him for a minute because I was like, "Hey, man, love Jaws 2," and he's like, yeah, yeah. He was nice, and my wife at the time, now my ex-wife, Michael C. Hall, was kind of sitting on the steps taking a break, and she came out and she's like, "Would you sign this?" And it was one of our butcher knives.
Oh shit.
And he just laughed. He's like, "Oh, this is a first for me." And he was very nice, very nice. He was like, a good sport about it. And then I guess later, like he was on a talk show. He's like, "Yeah, I get some weird requests sometimes. Someone wanted me to sign a knife the other day," and I'm like, "It's my wife."
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's one of the cool perks of like living in Hollywood is, or when I was living there, is just watching things get, I've always been fascinated with sets and like seeing how all this stuff comes together. And you got like a little glimpse of that, they were always filming something, they were filming Dexter on my street. I remember one time going to the Virgin Megastore, and they wouldn't let me leave. Like they're like, "Oh, you have to stay in the building for the next 2 minutes." I'm like, "Why?" And the person points out the window, and there's Will Smith and Peter Berg and Charlize Theron, and
Wow.
they're shooting a scene for I think it was Hancock or something like that.
Mm.
Stuff just kind of fascinates me, man, and all like houses. Like that was a big thing I used to do in LA. I used to go and try to find like things from horror movies, like filming locations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know where I was
That's
going
cool.
with that.
Oh no, that was a great story. That's cool, and I'm also glad to know Michael C. Hall's a nice guy because he really seems like a cool dude, and I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah,
Well,
he
they say
was.
Michael C. Hall. Did I say Michael C. Scott? I might. No, if I did, it's Michael C. Hall. Yeah.
Everyone on that cast and crew, because they're when they film something, I mean, they're there all day just for like. I remember like they set up for hours and hours just for like a scene of Dexter's sister to walk up the stairs and knock on the door and say, "Anton, are you in there?" She did that like 3 times and it was like, boom, that's a wrap. I'm like, they maybe got like a couple minutes of footage, and it's literally took like 5 hours to set up. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I have a little tiny bit of experience with that because me, my wife, and a couple friends of ours were involved in a small indie horror movie that took place out in, I think it was in Virginia, I believe. Anyways, but we were like just extras on there. It's like it was supposed to be a trauma movie. It's called Team Science or Science Team, one or two. I think it might be Science Team. I think that's the name of it. I think it's on YouTube. You can watch it or whatever. But anyways, this was like many years ago, and we were just extras. We're running around in like these pink scientist outfits made out of burlap in like 100-degree weather in Virginia.
Oh man.
So it was an all-day affair just for a few fucking scenes, man. Like we were there from like early in the morning to like 7 at night, just sweating our fucking asses off. And there's a whole bunch of us out there, and yeah, just to nail one scene, like we had to like do like 20 different takes of this, like 20 takes of that. And the light has to be just right where the sun's at. Like it's so much it goes into filming, like it's crazy.
Yeah, totally. When ISIS broke up, I needed to get a job, and I worked in the catering business. And every one who works in there is somehow like, they're involved in like trying to be actors, and a lot of them do like professional extras, and like they would say the same thing, like you're on set for 15 hours standing around doing nothing to get like just like a couple seconds of footage. Like it's the most tedious, insane thing.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that professionally, but I've always wanted to play like a monster or something like that. Like throw me in some makeup and stuff and let me like chase people down. That would be fucking awesome. Let me be a stand-in for Michael Myers for just like a second. I'm the same height as the guy that plays him and stuff. I can do this. Come on.
Yeah, I would love to too. I remember my friend was filming his movie, and there was a party scene. And like, yeah, come down, be an extra. But something came up, and I kind of regret it now. I wish I, kind of was there, because like I just love the whole like just watching all this stuff. It's very, very fascinating to me.
It is, and the only other experience I have with like movie stuff is like my former band, Tripping the Mechanism. We have like multiple songs in a few horror movies done by you ever heard of James Balsamo, Acid Bath Productions?
That sounds familiar.
He's an independent guy. The way he runs his stuff is a lot like Trauma. They're all like horror comedies and stuff, but
Sure.
He has some like super big stars in his movies. Like, I mean, you name it, they've been in there. I think Lance Henriksen's in his new one or something. But anyways,
nice.
we got to have some songs in a few of his films, and I thought that was like the coolest shit ever. You're watching this movie, and then one of your songs pops up there. I'm like, oh, that's badass.
Oh yeah, totally. That's happened a few times for my old, my old band ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
We've popped up in a few kind of smaller indie movies, and we popped up in a couple of Joe Begos films. I get a kick out of it, man. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. In a very small way, I'm a part of this, and I also appreciate, those guys kind of keeping the ISIS name alive in a small way,
Yeah, I think that's fucking great. And yeah, Joe Begos definitely keeps the metal alive. And yeah, ISIS was such a fucking great fucking band. Like ISIS and Neurosis, Red Sparrows, all that stuff. That was like a big thing for me back in the day, especially. I think I was in like, I'm going to say high school when I started listening to like ISIS and stuff and really getting into Neurosis and everything. But that really fucking geared my direction in the right way, away from like Slipknot and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, here's
Yeah.
real music. So yeah,
Well, everyone starts somewhere.
yeah.
Um, no one's jumps out of the womb and starts listening to Black Flag. My first musical love was hip hop when I was a kid in the '80s. Like that was the first music I became obsessed with. Before that, it was like pop music of the time. Whatever, Michael Jackson, Thriller, the Synchronicity by the Police. I
It's
actually
a
think
great song.
yeah,
Great band.
one of my favorite bands of all time, and Sting is probably like the reason I'm a bass player. But yeah, hip hop, man, that was like the very first thing I just fell in love with and was all consumed by, and that sort of morphed into alternative music and alternative, became like I met some kid who's like, man, you like this stuff. I was like, there's a whole world underneath all this that you don't even know about. And he got me into like underground punk and Lookout Records and stuff like that, but I didn't just, it's a journey sometimes to find these things, and like, a lot of people are embarrassed. Like I have a friend who's like, man, I was listening to like Limp Bizkit before I heard you guys, but like, I can see that, man. Like, everything starts somewhere.
Yeah, and that's like the times too. That's what we had back then too, and it's kind of like you cut your teeth on that before you get to other things.
Yeah, and I'm not a Slipknot fans, but I mean, there are way more embarrassing bands you can like, or like cringe at that you used to like, But like, hey, man, yeah, it is what it is,
And on the topic of that too, the unreleased Palm songs are fucking awesome. I was jamming out those the other day. Oh,
thanks. Yeah, man, thanks. Yeah, we recorded like just kind of looked at some of the discourse, things people are saying. People are like, why did they leave those songs off the album? But we recorded those songs a year after the album came out.
wow.
They weren't recorded with the LP sessions. They were done, about a year later. We were just, all four of us were in LA at the time, and we just would get together sporadically, mostly Cliff, Aaron, and I, and write songs and record. And as time went on, the project sort of dissolved, or everyone moved away, and there's just wasn't a lot going on. And over the years, Aaron Harris like, we have that one song that's completely finished. And there was a period where I was kind of against having it out there. I'm like, it's so old, and it could be better. And then Aaron Harris hit me up, I think it was probably last October, and was like, we should release this. Why not? And then I was like, you know what? There's another song that has all four of us on it. Why don't we release those two? And that's how those came about. Like, just a little surprise for people. We thought, we got in touch with Ipecac, and like, your record will be 10 years old in 2023. So why don't we release those songs? Wait a few months and release it in 2023. So we're like, yeah, okay. And it was fun to surprise people too. You don't really get that a lot anymore. There's always these, well, okay, here's a song from the album. Here's another song from the album. Here's another song. And then the album gets released. Like to me, like, I've always just wanted to just drop something on people. And like, hey, totally. Here you go. 2 songs. But we're not an active band by any means. As of right now, there are 0 plans to get together again to record, tour. But there is other stuff that we recorded that was never finished. And there is songs we wrote that we never recorded at all. So, I mean, I guess some sort of, something else down the line is possible, but probably unlikely.
Right. I mean, what you did with that Palms record, though, god damn, it was good. And
Oh,
I'm a big
thanks,
fan
man.
of Deftones too. Deftones and ISIS, you know what I mean? So having Chino on there, like, that's a hell of a combo.
Yeah, like I don't think it's exactly what people wanted or expected out of us, but I'm pretty happy with it. Like it's hard, finding your footing again. And although I played with Aaron and Cliff and ISIS, it was still a new thing,
Hmm.
separate from ISIS. And sometimes you gotta, that was kind of us finding our way after ISIS, the three of us. And when Chino got involved, I remember like we recorded a couple songs, and Aaron and Chino were buddies. I never met him at that point, and Chino's like, "Oh, let me hear what you guys are working on." And then like a half hour later, he sent something over to Aaron with him singing on it, and Aaron sends it to me. He's like, "You got to hear this." It didn't tell me like what it was. I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, this is just our." Like, "Oh, wait, who's that singing? Is that Chino?" And it's like, "Fuck, maybe we should do that." Like, does he want to sing for this? And that's kind of how that came about.
Wow.
It was never meant to be like a full-time band or anything like that. It was always sort of like, yeah, like let's like this kind of boutique thing, like, do something here and there, play a show here or there, but we were never going to be like a full-time band where it's like write, record, tour, write, record, tour.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm really glad you like it.
Oh yeah, it's totally up my alley, man. Like I said, I'm always a big ISIS fan, and with Palms too, it's a whole different feel. It's more like, I don't know, more kind of laid back and more trance inducing, I guess. I don't best way to describe it. It kind of it relaxes me, which is a
Oh,
good
cool.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like again, like I just didn't want to do ISIS part two um right out of the gate. Like I just was in ISIS for 13 years. And so I kind of consciously was like, well, I always wanted to do something more melodic. And that was my opportunity to do it. And it is kind of frustrating that the people are like, well, obviously those guys, this is what those three guys wanted ISIS to be, and Sumac is what Aaron, that's what Aaron
Hmm.
wanted ISIS to be. But like Palms is not what I wanted ISIS to be at all. Like I wanted to try something, a little bit different.
Yeah, and it totally worked, and now you have this like piece of art that's been out there for a little while now, and it's always going to be there. It's always going to be something a little bit different, and just
Exactly.
having
Yeah.
those two extra songs out there, two unreleased songs is just it's like kind of a cherry on top.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And yeah, who knows? Maybe the door is kind of open at some point, but we're all spread out now. When we made that record, all four of us were living in LA. Now it's just Aaron Harris in LA. The Chino's up is somewhere in Oregon. Cliff
Oh wow,
is
I didn't know
right.
that.
Yeah, he's been up there for a while now, like 10 years.
Wow,
Um,
okay. Gino's always a California guy. Like I'm like that's a surprise.
Yeah, it surprised me too when he said he's moving up there. I was like, really? Yeah, Cliff lives in Ohio, and
Mhm.
I now I live in Texas. So it's kind of hard to do anything when you're that spread out. I've never been like a file sharing kind of musician where like you can write songs through email and things like that. That just doesn't work for me.
Right. Yeah, I like to be in the room. Like when I was with my band and stuff, like we write songs together. Like we would come up with parts and stuff like outside of like jamming and stuff. But
Right.
when we got together is when we really, shit started really doing its thing.
Totally. And you can write something and have it all mapped out in your head, but when you get in a room with other people, that's when it comes to life. And that's when it, takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And that's how I like to make music, even if you're sort of guiding them and like what you want, they're always going to interpret it their own way. And I think that's something that's really missing from bands that like work through like file sharing. It's fine to share ideas and everything like that way, but for me to write songs, it's got to be in a room with the people you're going to record this with.
Yeah, it builds that like magic that you're gonna get from being together. I think there's a magic to that.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What years was your band active? And you were what? You're South Carolina?
Yeah, South Carolina. We were active like shit. I was in the band where the band was together for about, I would say, 16 years, and I was playing in that band
Wow,
since I was 18, and we just disbanded maybe 5 or 6 years ago. If that time flies by, so it's hard to really tell
it
when
really
we kind of
does.
disbanded. You know what I mean? But we got to do like multiple U.S. tours and stuff. We released 4 albums. Most of those albums were produced by Philip Copa Kylesa, which is fucking amazing.
Oh, did you say
Like,
Kylesa?
yeah, Philip Copa
Oh yeah,
Kylesa.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We played a few shows with those guys. Nice group of people.
Oh yeah, nice as hell. Like Philip's awesome dude. But yeah, I mean, we did that for a long time, and I enjoyed what we did and stuff. And I think we did good. It's just as time goes on, it's just time to go our separate ways and stuff. So
Sure. You know, in all of my travels, I think I've been to South Carolina once on tour.
you're not missing much.
Yeah, that's kind of I think that's why we only went once. It was when we were on tour with I Hate God, so this must have been like 2000. I think
Oh
that's the
wow.
one and only time I've ever played South Carolina.
Yeah, even when we were playing or when we were active and stuff, we rarely played in our own state. That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Like we play like a
yeah,
couple local shows and everything else is on the road.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Oversaturation's a big thing, and there's a lot of bands that play every fucking weekend or every other weekend. I'm like, that's not really how you want to draw people in. I'm gonna get bored seeing you after the third time. I'm gonna get bored after the second time. Like, you gotta get out there and, hit the
Yeah,
road and do different things.
that was kind of our philosophy to playing shows. Like, if you come through once a year, once every 2 years, it's special. People are going to be excited. If you're coming every 6 months, people aren't going to give a fuck. Like
No,
think
no.
about how amazing seeing sun is. Now imagine seeing sun every few months. Like it's going to lose something.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sun again. All right, well, let me get the earplugs. It's gonna be loud.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But you're doing your own thing now, right?
Yeah, I'm doing Abraxas Horn, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. You
right
sent it
right
to me,
now.
man.
Yeah, did you dig it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
I
yeah,
think you
yeah,
said you
cool.
did. Yeah,
Yeah, and like you did the intro to your show, to the show we're on right now, right?
I did. Yeah, and that was like a big thing. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna start this podcast, but I've always wanted to do some synthesizer stuff, man. I've always loved that shit. Horror soundtracks and everything. So I
Sure.
pretty much taught myself how to like play keyboard and all that stuff. And it's all simplified stuff. I use like a little Akai keyboard. It's got like a beat pad on there. It's got the keys. It's very simplified, but
Yeah.
I taught myself how to use the software and everything. And I'm like, I'm going to do the intro to the podcast. That's what I'm going to do. Then, I decided like, hey, I'm going to do a fucking album. I want to do my own album on my own, everything by me. And, I did
That's
one. I was
great.
like, that's pretty fucking cool. I was like, look at that. I can do more than just play guitar and scream.
Yeah, it's really fun, man. I did a similar thing after ISIS broke up. I did this little project called Crone that just me and whoever you know whoever I was with at the time. Like Crone really started the day after ISIS broke up. I went up to New York to visit my friend John Lamacchia from the band Candiria and
Hmm.
stayed with him for like a week, and we just fucking around in this little like home recording setup, and that was the origins of it. Had no idea what we were doing really, or where I wanted this thing to go, but like that's how it took shape. And when I got back to LA, I just kept working on the stuff and adding, subtracting, and as much as I find the creative process a little maddening, I tend to lose myself sometimes.
Hmm.
I had a lot of fun doing that because there's no pressure. It's just me. There's no like release date or anything like that. I can just wake up, make a bunch of noise, and if all of it sucks, just get rid of it. Or if it's
Yeah.
great, keep it. It's a lot of fun. I keep saying one day I'll make another record like that, but at this point, who the fuck knows?
You definitely should. You got my vote on that.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Like anything you do, I'm already on board before you even make it. So just know that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So.
right on. Yeah, I mean, the older you get to, like, I just don't have time like I used to, and
Right.
my free time is really valuable to me. And like I said, I had fun making that Crone record. At the same time, I kind of lost my mind. Like every time I work on something creative, I completely um, start to. I know I agonize over everything, and it consumes me, and it's all I think about. And I'm like, do I really want to put myself through that right now? Like, maybe I'd just rather watch a movie and hang out with my girlfriend than put myself through that again. But
I totally understand that feeling. Like you just overthink everything. It's like, you get super tense about every fucking thing. Like, oh man, totally know that feeling.
yeah. Recording is such a relief for me because I'm like, all right, no matter what, there it is, it's done. And it's just, it's liberating. I actually enjoy recording. Like I really do. But it's done. It's out there. It's out of your hands. Like
Right.
You don't have to agonize over it anymore. Until 5 years later when you hear it and you're like, fuck, that could have been better. That could have been better.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see, man. Maybe someday I'll do something again. I still have my bass, my cab, my head, and all my pedals and stuff. So who knows, man? Maybe like I don't ever see myself playing in a full-time band again. I'm 46 years old. Like to start a new band at this point fuck that.
Yeah, so much the work that goes into like just being in the band. People just don't understand like how hard that shit is. Like it's taxing, and yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's so taxing. I mean, to start a band in your early 20s and build it up into something, you're young, you got time, but I'm middle aged now, and to start something
Right.
and like go play shows for no money, play to no people. It just doesn't really appeal to me at all.
No.
Yeah.
I'd rather just make weird sounds and throw it out there and, record some shit every couple of years and get it out there. That to me that really gets that creative like juices out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And, I also think there's like, part of me that is satisfied by what ISIS did. Like I have, no matter what happens in life, I did that. I had a goal. I wanted to start this particular kind of band, and I did it, the right people, we all clicked. We took it way further than any of us expected it to go. And, when all is said and done, I was like, well, I did that. And that might be enough for me. I was, man, it's 13 years later and people still care about this thing we did. And that's good enough for me at this point. I did it. I did what I wanted to do musically. So there'll always be that level of satisfaction.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. You left your mark, and that mark's going to be left forever. Like there's always going to be people talking about ISIS, even after we're all gone. I'm sure, as long as as a civilization, we're still here. I'm sure, ISIS would still be talked about. Be like, oh, you got to check this band out. You know what I mean? Like you made your mark for sure.
We'll be like the Beatles like 100 years from now.
Have you heard of ISIS, man?
That would be something, man. Yeah. Like I said, it's good enough. And yeah. So if I never do anything musically again, then so be it. I'm good. I'm all good.
Yeah, made your mark on the world, and now you can kind of rest and do what the fuck you want to do, like the rest of it, No stress.
Which is not much. I don't seem to want to do much anymore. I'm tired all the time. Work 10, 11 hours a day.
Yeah, I do 8-hour days, but I'm up at like 4 o'clock in the morning every day, so that kind of sucks. But I work outside, but
yeah.
But hey, I get to do my hobbies and stuff, and get to do my podcast, which I love doing, even though it's also work, but it's fun work, but it's also stressful getting, doing everything with the podcast shit. And like, it's a lot, but it's fun and I love doing it. So
I'm sure. And you're getting cool, interesting guests, Mick Garris. I mean, that guy's, that's awesome, man.
Oh yeah. And the funny thing with that, and like, it was only supposed to be like an audio interview, but at the last minute he wanted to do video. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, oh shit, I haven't combed my hair, my beard, none of that stuff. I hit that fucking camera button. I like a fucking crazy axe murder. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna think I'm fucking nuts, man. But he was cool.
What the fuck
like,
did they get into?
Right. He was cool though. Like, it was like everything worked out fine, But man, you talking about nervous when he said, "Oh, I'm gonna do video too," because I was just ready for audio. I'm like, whatever, I can be like fidgeting around and stuff. You won't think I'm crazy. He's like, oh, let's do video. And yeah, that was something there. I'm like, holy shit, like fucking Mick Garris. Yeah, I will do a video with you, Mick Garris. You're Mick Garris. I do whatever. It's cool.
Yeah, totally. Man, it's great, man. And you're doing cool things with your podcast, man. And like, and you're kind of just starting too. So who knows? You could be the Joe Rogan of horror.
Oh God, yeah. I got to get me an assistant to look stuff up, and then oh God,
yeah, and have some fucking wacky ideas about shit.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm 2 years in right now, I believe. I think I'm 2 years in with the podcast, so that's pretty good. I'm like episode 55 is up now and stuff, so. Yeah, not too bad for an introvert because I am very introverted. So
yeah,
I think
me too.
I think this helps out with my communication skills and, just dealing with people. This helps out a ton because I am severely introverted.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I get it. Like when Mike came to me about joining Necromaniacs, I was like, God, I don't know if I can do that. I clam up around like sometimes, if I know I'm being like, recorded or something like that, I have a tendency to just completely lose my train of thought, clam up. But, I think I'm a couple years into it too now. And I feel a little bit more at ease, like, being recorded and not thinking about like everything that's coming out of my mouth is going to be put out there.
Right.
I can relax a little bit. I still have trouble articulating my thoughts a lot of times, and I'm like, man, I sound like a fucking idiot. But hey, it is what it is. That's me, and if that's what people think, that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, dude, you're a natural, man. Like I would never know you're like introverted either, so you're fucking killing that. So
no worries thanks, there. Man. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. You've always guys, you're always supportive of the podcast. Everyone in our little podcast crew,
Yeah, we got a good crew, that's for sure. Like, it's nice being like, it feels like family to me. You know what I mean? Like being an introvert and kind of being like a loner person as well. I don't really get along with a lot of people because nobody really has a lot like, the same interests as I do. It's all a bunch of people like a lot of the garbage around here, unfortunately. Like nobody wants to talk horror movies or, good music. You know what I mean? So it's just nice being part of an extended family,
Especially being into the kind of music we're into, that's right. Like, even like, like people I work with, they hear I was in a metal band and they expect, Metallica or Slayer or something like that. And when they do
or
hear
Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh yeah, even worse. Yeah, exactly.
Damn, yeah.
And they hear it and they're like, no, not for me. Like they just, it's weird explaining this world to people who don't come from it, don't know about it. And then like, what you do a horror movie podcast? You talk about horror movies? And I'm like,
I get that all the time.
Like, and they have this idea. So you like them, the Conjuring, the Annabelle?
Oh God, yeah. Man, I've heard all this shit at work or just out in public. Sometimes if I have to go to a show or something, I hear that when people, oh, you do this, like. Or I have the 666 in my podcast name. Oh, what are you, a devil worshiping podcast? I'm like, I'm a fucking horror podcast, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Now that I live in Texas, like I was walking around with a dead guy shirt the other day with a pentagram on it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably kind of gonna rub people the wrong way. Like, I guess I should be more conscious of that. I don't like to be noticed, for anything. I just want to go about my day and not be bothered.
Right.
So I'm like, when I'm getting like weird looks, I'm like, wow, what's that about? I'm like, oh yeah, I got a pentagram on my shirt. I'm in fucking Texas,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, you live in South Carolina, so I'm sure
Oh yeah. Same deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine. I imagine it's a little bit worse there.
Yeah. Me and my wife are like heretics, so it's cool. It works out. Oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah, and we both
right
have
on.
hair down to our butts and stuff too. We stand out in a crowd, even though I don't want to really stand out, but unfortunately I do, and she does when we walk around anywhere. So we get looks
Right.
all the time.
Oh,
So
I
it's like,
bet.
God
Yeah.
damn it, you know. Oh, the heathens are here. There's the heathens walking around that way. I'm sure
Is
we're
there-
the heathens of our little complex we live in right now. We're like the fucking demon worshiping heathens over here, big time.
Yeah. Is there any sort of do you ever get like the idea like you want to leave this town, go somewhere else, or?
Man, I like my job, and I've been at my job for a very long time, and I'm a creature of habit, and I like, I'm a creature of ritual too, like, certain things a certain way, and like I don't really want to leave here because I have it pretty decently right now with, when it comes to finances and stuff like that. Like I'm comfortable, if
Yeah.
I wanted to go anywhere, it'd probably be like out of country, or like Scotland or something, or Ireland, But
Yeah.
like moving out of state, like it's so, and just thinking about all the work it would take and stuff, I'm like, fuck, it's a lot. And I like my job where I'm at, like, like I don't want to have to do all this all over again,
If you like your job, you're already doing better than like 80% of the people in the world. I mean, everyone I know hates their fucking, well, not everyone, but most people hate their fucking job.
Right. And I'm not saying I love what I do, but I like it. It's, it pays the bills, and it's not as hard as these other like outdoor jobs people have. Like, you know what I mean? I know what I'm doing, and I don't know, I'm comfortable there, and which is a good thing, I think.
Totally. No, I mean, that's a big part of happiness is not hating what you got to do, 8 to 10 hours a day, I mean, shit,
If I
know
did move,
people
though,
that are
like,
miserable.
right, yeah, and I don't want to be that person, and only places I would probably move to would be like, I like Albuquerque. I thought that place was cool, and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
like Denver's fucking awesome. I love the mountains, so
Nice.
those, yeah, but.
Hey, man, I never thought I would live in Texas. Life is weird. It goes down some weird paths, you know?
Yeah.
And one day you're living in LA, and then all of a sudden, like, you're in Texas, But hey, life is short, and I want to, like, I like to get out there and try different things. And LA was getting a little, I don't know, I was getting old, and I am old. It was just time for something new, And I was like, oh yeah, I always liked Austin. Why not? Let's give that a shot.
Right.
And it's fucking great here, man. I love it. This is
Well, that's good.
probably my forever home, hopefully, like I'm really, really happy here.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a good thing. And where I'm at here, I'm not saying where I live in a townhouse, so it's definitely not my forever home. But until the right one comes along, you know what I mean? Like, our perfect house is going to be someplace that's probably got some ghosts in it, maybe some bats. That's perfect for us. But, we're never going to find that. But, can't afford it.
Yeah, totally. Well, I actually got to run. I've talked your ear off long enough, man.
Oh, dude. Oh, it's been great, man. There's no worries, man.
Oh, cool. Good. We got to do this again, man. Hope maybe we could do a crossover episode on Necromaniacs sometimes with all of us.
I would love that. I think that's been in the works for a while. I think this talking wise anyway. So we definitely need to do that maybe this year. That would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I would love that, man. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, man. This was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, Jeff. I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. And thanks for talking with me. And yeah, take it easy and have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too, man. Stay in touch.
Will do, man.
Awesome, dude.
Later.
Later.